Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a little bit about my last week in games. It's been a 3-game week last week, well it's the classics of course. So we'll start with EVE Online, the Onslaught expansion. Haven't done a lot of Onslaught, but I played an average amount of EVE Online. I've mostly been doing my favorite activity, which is of course exploring. For combat exploration, this time I also made an Ishtar, tried to make it work for the Sancha sites. Which it's a little bit trickier because they're so frigate heavy and they are also a lot closer than the Serpentis sites on the warping point that you can't just make the guards work like for Serpentis sites. And also you need more tank than in the Serpentis sites. Basically there you can just warp in the site against Serpentis in 3 and 4 out of 10, plop your guards and you don't even need tank, you'll destroy them before they get in range of their weapons. With the Sancha it's a bit different, but I managed to make it work and you'll get that next week. There was also one evening where I played together with my brother. It was a bit more exploration just for him to test out his frigate. He bought a Comet, and the plan here is to try and do some co-op abyssal sites if possible. It's really a scheduling issue between my brother and myself to play together, but it's getting a little bit better now that we're also playing some Fallout 76 together. So that's the plan. I'm really not sure if anyone has experience with the co-op abyssal sites. Can you like solo beat a tier 1, or do you always have to be with 3 players in order to run these sites? I'm gonna assume that 2 good frigates can very easily clear the lower tier sites, and I think that that's what we'll give a try at first. Maybe then later down the line we'll look for a 3rd pilot, and we'll see what we can do with the co-op abyssal sites. But that is of course for the future. And speaking of the future, there is some stuff that I am of course still looking forward to in EVE Online as well, because there will be a patch in December normally, and if I'm not mistaken we'll have the changes to not to faction warfare but to the war declarations, so that only corporations with structures will be able to be warded. I'm really curious to see what the longer term impact to the game is going to be, because on the one hand it does really take away from the harshness of EVE Online, but numbers have also shown that new players suffer a lot under that system. And then after December for the winter on the updates website, I still saw the 64-bit client. That is something that I'm really curious about as well. So there's definitely stuff to look forward to in EVE Online as well, and I'm doing so. Next up we have the World of Warcraft, and that has been, well, a little bit more of the same of course. As you guys probably know, I'm in maintenance mode for the World of Warcraft, so I'm doing my emissary every single day. The main focus there is actually the Azerite power at the moment. I am exalted with all the factions, but I still feel like, you know, I could make a little bit of progress now, switching the focus from rep to getting some extra Azerite power. I think that my necklace is at level 30 at this point, and I have at least one piece of gear that unlocks the final Azerite trait at level 32. So I'm just slowly working on that through the emissaries, through some extra daily questing when I'm in longer queues, and of course also with my followers doing missions. Those are going after Azerite power and after gold now rather than reputation. So that's one part. The other, of course, I am in queue often for battlegrounds. It's mostly the random battlegrounds and the epic battlegrounds. I really found out during one session trying to get that skirmish win for 15 points that it's not something that I enjoy, yeah, Shamans suffer the most, but Affliction Warlocks, they need extra time to get their DPS up and running, and in a 2 versus 2 skirmish you just don't have that time, so those are not fun. There was an evening where I played like 20 games before I finally got my win. Very, very frustrating. So I'm basically switching my tactic there from doing the random battleground and 1 skirmish win every evening to only get the random battleground, and then if I have the time, if I find the time, which is usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I also add in an epic battleground, and that gets me the conquest points as well, so that I can get my next piece. I'm highly focused on mastery for my Affliction Warlock at the moment, which also means that my Curse of Agony, for instance, now does 30,000 damage on the tooltip, which is, I think, pretty damn decent for that ranged global single cooldown that I can just spam on all enemies. It's a lot of fun for me to play with the Affliction Warlock, and so I'm going to keep up this effort up until patch 8.1, which I think is slated for like half December or something like that. And there might actually be a bit of a resurgence in my World of Warcraft gameplay. It does promise some interesting things for the stuff that I'm doing now. For instance, in World Quest, we can expect better gear to drop from invasions, just like we had in a Legion. And they're also looking at PvP. I don't know the details there, but if there's like an upgrade to the gear that you can get from conquest points, for instance, I'm definitely gonna work on that as well. And then we'll have a new Battlefront, which means that I think you'll be able to play Battlefronts almost every evening if you want to. And yeah, depending on the gear, the rewards that you can get there, it could be quite interesting. And then of course we'll also have to see what the story says. So yeah, patch 8.1 for the World of Warcraft. I'm not sure how much time I'll put into that, but it looks to me like I can just maybe do like a little step up from what I'm doing now, focusing on what I enjoy anyways, and that will actually be able to yeah, get the character into even better gear than what I have now. It's pretty casual way of playing the World of Warcraft, but I'm having fun, and I think that's what's important. And for the final game, of course, we have Fallout 76, a game that, well, doesn't have good reviews, and I can't blame anyone for that. Also, if I'm not mistaken, it's already dropping in price quite a lot. Very disappointing, of course, for people that bought it at full price on launch. It's something that, you know, you really have to decide whether or not you're gonna risk that these days. And here I took the risk and basically shouldn't have. I think you can now buy it for like half price or something like that. If you want to. Am I enjoying the game? Yes, absolutely. It's also something that my brother and myself decided that we were going to try to play together. Now, our schedules don't allow us to play that often or for such long sessions, but we try to do that at least a couple times a week, and we did so last week as well. And that's really when the game is pretty fun for us. We're very low level, so we haven't put that much time in Fallout 76. I think we're like level 12-ish, around that range. But when you're going out there together, you can try to tackle some challenges, you can try to grab some resources, upgrade your weapons, just, you know, try to get stronger together, and then you can work on that camp of yours. And my brother has been doing that a little bit more than me. He also now has a water purifier there, so we have a steady stream of purified water, which is really important for your thirst stats in the game. And then, yeah, you know, he's focusing on cooking, trying to get us some nice foods and things like that. And I'm focusing on being a sneaky sniper, so I've got more perception, trying to get better sniper rifles and things like that together. And it's a slow process, which I think fits the game and its problems a lot better. This is basically what allows Bethesda to fix the problems with the game before we encounter them, because, you know, we're not at end game, we're not crashing servers by launching multiple nukes. We really take our time very slowly, so we haven't encountered too many of the major bugs. We're also not like pushing the game to its very limits or anything like that, and so I haven't experienced any full crashes. I think one freeze, one disconnect from the server so far, and that's really it. So for us, it's a slow experience, but we're actually enjoying our time in Fallout 76. And of course, now knowing that you know, it's going for even less money so quickly, that means that we made a bit of a mistake. We should have basically said we'll hold off until the holidays, because there's a very high chance, if the game doesn't do too well, that it'll drop in price very quickly. I would say that that's a lesson learned for us, and something to keep in mind whenever you hear Bethesda come out with another title for like that November release. Well, a month later we're talking about the holidays, and we are talking about potentially a much cheaper price. Now, I don't think that the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be like that. That will also be, in all likeliness, a day one purchase. But for me personally, perhaps the X4 Foundations might be like that. This might be a warning for it. So I think what I'll do there is what I should have done for Fallout 76, looking back at it. Just wait a little bit, wait for the reviews, and if the reviews are really bad, which they are for Fallout 76, despite the fact that we're enjoying the game, hold off on buying that and see if you can't grab grab it a little bit cheaper, like maybe a couple months down the line or something like that. Still, there is some content coming for Fallout 76, and when you take your time, you can really try to explore some of these sites on the map there, and yeah, it can actually be a fun experience. But if you're looking for a hardcore experience, I think you will run into a lot of those problems, and it's the fact that we're playing that super casually, really focusing on whenever we can play together, that's when we play some Fallout 76. That's what giving us that better experience than a lot of other players. And that's it for this week, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.